Hi, my name is Howie Brounstein, and I'm with Columbine School of Botanical Studies, along with
Stephen Yeager from the Columbine School of Botanical Studies.
and we're here on behalf of Mountain Rose Herbs to bring you a piece of this. The meadows at middle elevations in the Western Oregon Cascades.
Take 17. Our next plant here is Valerian. This is Valeriana sitchensis. And this is a wild valerian growing here in the Pacific Northwest. Many people viewing today may be more familiar with the garden valerian, Valeriana officinalis, which you can buy on the herb market at wonderful establishments like Mountain Rose Herbs,
Mountain Rose
where
Herbs.
I know they get very good cultivated valerian root from one of our Pacific Northwest farms. Valeriana here, it grows in mats, and we'll see that here in a minute. But it forms ground cover in the Pacific Northwest. It's a rhizomatous species, meaning that the underground parts called rhizomes, and they're all interconnected and reproduce. One of the ways they reproduce is by breaking roots and spreading roots. I picked this one valerian plant here, and this is actually starting to go to seed or fruit. They're very closely related to the Asteraceae. And if you think of when the Asteraceae goes to fruit, think of a dandelion.
Dandelion.
And when you get that fuzz, or where you make a wish and blow on the dandelion, that's the pappus, which are modified sepals. The Valeriana has pappus-like sepals, not quite as fuzzy, but very similar to an Asteraceae. And then they have what Howie's holding here, the basal leaves, meaning they're coming from the base of the plant. You have cauline leaves, which are the leaves on the flowering stem, and then you have the basal leaves, which are growing from the base. Valeriana is very common in the mountains here in the Pacific Northwest. It's a very good nervine, and useful for a variety of things that you might want to use a nervine for, or a calming herb.
The Valeriana sitchensis that grows in our middle elevation meadows, ranging from 4,000 to 6,000 feet, 7,000 feet here in the Western Cascades of Oregon. This is a very common plant. This particular species is a very common plant. In fact, is actually part in some associations. Botanists and ecologists would consider this dominant or co-dominant in the plant life in these meadows. And besides that, it has a strong ecological place. Valerian likes disturbance. Valerian is a plant that comes in after disturbance first off and puts in its roots. And these valerian stems will come into these meadows after fires or other disturbances and floods, and they'll come in and they're going to be pioneer plants that hold the soil down. Strangely enough, as decades roll by, other plants will come and grow over the valerian, but the valerian will continue on in these meadows under other plants. The valerian holds many very important pieces of this, very many important pieces of this ecosystem. It's very interesting. Where the valerian grows, you'll see the mounds of the voles. And what the voles will do in these meadows is they'll go underground and they'll dig up, they'll make tunnels and they'll dig up the soil and bring it up to the top, so there's these piles of loose soil. There's actually looks like sifted soil, like someone has dug a hole, sifted the soil and left this pile on the dirt in the meadow. These piles of dirt, of sifted soil, are prime soil for valerian to grow in because it likes the disturbance. So what you see is that these voles there in these meadows will continue to turn the soil, make these holes, and move these, help maintain these meadows as meadows. Another thing we find interesting is that imagine yourself walking down a street and you look down and you realize the street is made of cobblestone. and it's totally full of fog. You don't know where you are. Suddenly the fog begins to lift, and you look and you see a man with a flute and all these children following after him, and you realize you're in Hamelin, and it's the Pied Piper of Hamelin taking all the children away. This story where the animals would follow and the children would follow the Pied Piper, it is believed that the Pied Piper of Hamelin secreted Valerian on his person to get the animals to follow him. And indeed, cats like Valerian. Household cats like the smell of Valerian. Often look at it, it's very similar to catnip, certain cats and certain Valerians. But we do find that the big cats here will come to the Valerian and will dig it up and sometimes even roll in it. And by digging up the Valerian and by making these holes and piles of dirt, it actually makes the Valerian grow more into these holes and into these piles of dirt, making more pure stands of Valerian. Once again, we have yet another animal that keeps these Valerian stands as Valerian. But that's not the only reason why the big cats come there, because the deer and elk love the Valerian, and in fact will eat it down the stubble, they'll eat down the tops, they'll eat the leaves because they like it, and then they get all kind of dazed and tired and fall over and fall asleep, and then the cats come and eat them. So this is just some of the ways that Valerian is so tied in to the ecosystems of our Oregon meadows.
Well, that sure has been a lot of fun, Howie.
Sure has. It's time for us to go, but be safe and interact with plants.
We'll see you next time. Whew. I hope that's Valerian I smell.